Joe, this is it's 7:30 in the morning on the East Coast. This is what we're doing.
I guess. Why did we pick 7:30? I'm a night person.
Yeah, I've had more later nights at 7:30 than I have mornings trying to actually work. Well, if this is what we're gonna do, this is what we need to do. Are you ready? I'll hit the music.
I'm excited. Let's do this.
All right, proper cup of Joe. Here we go. What's going on, everybody?
It's a great start. It's a great start.
For the record, I have no idea why I put the gopher tortoise on there. I just liked him. He was on the beach at Anna Marie Island one morning, and I was like, I got to film it. And then I've never really used it. I was like, man, I'm putting it in. I don't care. Welcome to Proper Cup of Joe, everybody. My name's Adam. It's hard on. There it is right there. Yeah. That's Joe. That's my sidekick, Joe. Not my sidekick, man. Good buddy, Joe. And he's going to be sort of a sidekick on the show. But what I'm really hoping is if this whole organic exercise works, like I already drive the ship on one show. Like I want this to be a duo co-host kind of thing. So, yeah, this is it. Inaugural episode. Thank you for being here. I have no idea why at 7:30 in the morning, what you guys are doing watching the show, but I'm super thankful for it, man.
This is dedication. This is surprising. This is from somebody who is outside of this reptile community, me, learning about the dedication of the people inside this community. And it's really exciting. It's great.
Oh, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's six people.
Sure.
I'm thankful for all six of them. There's Shannon, Brandon, Pope County Pythons. I'm sorry, I forget. It's so hard in this world, Joe, because there's logos, there's like handles, and then there's people's actual names. So I screw it up. I interchange them a lot. And my other thing is I really suck at doing shout outs. I don't do them very often, but I mean, like this morning, why not? Robbie, thanks for being here. Ryan, Joe, you'll be mighty intrigued by this. Welcome to the Grow Tent is a guy named Ryan, and he's also a ball python breeder, but he is a plant community influencer, let's say, with, I think, man, last time I checked, he had like 50,000 YouTube subscribers. That's way different than like Instagram followers. Kevin Smith does his show intros, all of his videos. Super cool. So I appreciate Ryan hanging out. But yeah, when you talk about like the people in the community, it's really interesting, and dedication is definitely the word.
Is Kevin Smith like a reptile guy?
No, he's or he was. I think he quit. He's a plant guy. He's yeah, Ryan says he's up to 65,000 already. So,
watch out.
Yeah, really impressive stuff. Stephen and Courtney, Leviathan Snakes, and then John and Underworld Exotic. Good morning. I don't know that I've seen you in one of my other podcasts, and that's what I'm intrigued by is, will we find crossover between the shows? And as this personality, the personality of this show develops, where do we go? So one of my big goals is to always have content. We got 1 hour, guys. Like, you guys got to get to work. I got to get to work. Joe's got to get to work. We all have lives to live. That's part of why we did it at this ungodly hour, to wake up. But the other thing is that, like, I like having content. Like, let's jump in. Should we do the origin story, or should we do some introductions? How do you think this would flow?
Yeah, let's do the origin story, because that'll point a little bit to the why of why we're doing this and why I want to be involved in this.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to give your version, or you want me to start with mine and then you can commentate?
Well, yeah. So I'm just an inquisitive guy. Like the one thing that I love about Adam is that when he gets a hold of something, he really sinks his teeth into it. So and he's focused, and so he's constantly trying to get better and better and better at what he does, and which is different from me. When I was a kid, I was at a Perkins restaurant once, and you did something on the like the placemat, and it showed you the kind of personality you have, and it said I was a jack of all trades. And I thought, oh, I was 12. I was like, oh, that's great, I'm a jack of all trades. But I didn't know the rest of it, the rest of that saying, which is master of none. And so I'm kind of the opposite. I just love learning about all different types of stuff, whereas Adam is kind of this master. I'm just kind of inquisitive about all different kinds of stuff. And I saw, like, when we hang out, I have so many questions about this thing that he started 3 years ago, and I just pepper him with questions. And so he came to me and he said, let's have these conversations and let's invite other people to join in and either listen or participate. So I said, yeah, let's do it.
Man, that's I couldn't have explained it better. I have two points of contention. One, I don't think that I'm a master. I'll figure it out. I'll become a master. But what's is it Malcolm Gladwell who's like, if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you'll be an expert. So I'm not quite there. But to your point, I'm pretty dogged in what I do. I'll put in the 10,000 hours. So
yeah, it's constantly you're somebody who just constantly tries to think, like, even in your past, even in your past professions or your current professions, you're constantly trying to get better and better, which is, I'm kind of more, I get distracted easily.
I could also be described as unhealthy workaholic, obsessive compulsive. So there's neat things, but no, and I wouldn't. And actually, the people that are afflicted with those actual conditions, that is paralyzing and scary stuff. So I won't claim that, but I do have some of those quirks for sure. So so from my angle of it, and I guess we'll just overlap. Like if the origin story and intros were a Venn diagram, this would be the overlap part. So I'm sure the folks in the audience that I do know, I think most of them know me. And yeah, John, I do know you now. I exactly the point I was just saying. There's the name, there's the logo, and then there's the handle, and you put people together. So John and I met in person at the Jeremy Warfel's barbecue up in Pennsylvania, where I finished up my last trip, kind of deal. So yeah, so those of y'all that don't know me, I think most people do, not because I have a big ego, but because I recognize you. So on the replays, if you don't know me, my name's Adam. I have a ball python breeding business. It's called Proper Royals. That's me. You can find all my links on the LinkTree link down below, YouTube, Morph Market, all that good stuff. 3 years ago, I started really jumping in as a hobbyist, and by the end of 2020 I'd started my first pairings, and I'd started a YouTube channel to kind of describe my journey, and that's where I go back to far from a master. But the evolution has gone by. It's been 3 years. I do this is my primary source of income now, and along with this media, various sponsorships, that kind of thing. And again, that's far from me flexing. If you saw the actual numbers, there is no flex there. And when I'm not doing this, I am a restaurant consultant, hence my chef coat get up, and professional musician. So that's what I do. And to Joe's credit, I think he's exactly right. I would say, jack of all trades, master of none. Nah, I would say more of a Renaissance man. Like Joe knows quite a lot about quite a lot of things, and you have a skill that's as much listening and knowing what to say. It's almost like a really, like, who would the analogy be of the musician? Like there's like ripping metal guitar solos, the Eddie Van Halens, but then there's people that pick the right notes, jump in at the right place, and every note means something. And you're always like, like there's like a care to your conversations, which is really, really cool. It's hard to find these days with people that engaged and that intrigued. So Joe,
don't oversell me, Adam, here.
these are my recollections as I recall them. This is one of the few conversations you and I have ever had stone cold sober. So they who knows? I could be dreaming all of how good this is, you know.
Well, the other thing that I like about the evolution of doing this is that you talked to me. I mean, we talked a few months ago about this, and then just recently, just a few weeks ago, you said, hey, let's do this. And then you started to work. I said, yeah. And you started to work on it, as opposed to everything else that you do at another job, which just seems like it's just hard to get something together at regularly, right? At your jobs, just like somebody has something that wants to stifle what you're doing, or just like get in the way. And this was just, it just seemed very easy. Now, I didn't do a lot of the work. You did most of the work, but this seemed very easy to come together. And I love doing stuff like this, because we're off and running just a few weeks after we talked.
Yeah, to your point, a lot of it from, once you know how to do something once, recreating it isn't that bad. I don't know this to be fact, but I understand that people say your first million is very difficult to make. The second million comes very much quicker. I'm hoping that's true. I'm working hard on it. I'm nowhere near. But the second show was a whole lot more of, okay, got to get a background, going to get some logos, going to get a concept. And I mean, as goofy as the show and the background and even the concept might be, I thought it was important to have those words show about reptile people with non-reptile friends. That'll be our North Star. That's our guiding light. And a lot of people ask me why I started podcasting in the first place. Was I thought there was a lane for focused shows. And what happened is my Tuesday night show has become so narrowly focused. Like, it's this nerdy deep dive. We almost speak our own language. And I think I love the community there. It's amazing. I think it's become, or could become, almost not exclusionary, but like a high boundary to entry to understand what we're talking about. It would be, it'd be like car guys talking about the difference between 70s Mustangs and Chevelles or something. I don't know. I'm just making up things. Yeah. I don't know. But
I tried to listen to a few of them.
Okay. Case in point. And there we go.
The important word there is tried.
Yeah.
This is a much easier conversation to have. But it's a good, to your point though, I mean, I'm hoping that this is a good entry point for people who are, interested, or, who are possibly allies of the reptile community that want to understand more.
Reptile curious. Yeah. Like it's part of what we, believe it or not, part of what we talk about a whole lot in our community and industry is how we welcome and steward more people to that community. And to the point that I talked a lot with Ryan about, if we think about, and I use the word plant because you could get some flags on YouTube, but everybody knows there's only one plant lobby. We know what we're talking about. But if you think about the perception of the plant community 25 years ago when we were growing up, the whole Cheech and Chong trope versus say what Colorado started to do 10 years ago, it was, hey, this is very professional. This can be done in a very clean and healthy way. It can be done in a way that benefits communities. It benefits tax dollars. It lowers crime. It's a silly way that we're filling our private prison system. Let's get rid of that. All of those things, not that we're hopefully filling prison systems with the reptile community, but I think there's an analogy there, a metaphor there, that we sometimes are still the reptile version of the Cheech and Chong trope, when we really need to help our image the best that we can, because we do have the reality of the news coverage of, say Burmese pythons in the Everglades, which I'm sure we'll dig into one day on the show. other species laws and regulations and that kind of thing. So, and we do have our own industry lobby. That's USARK, which I'm sure makes you go, there's a reptile lobby. Yeah. Like we support them heavily. And actually we're going to talk a little bit about an auction that they have coming up this week. So I think that we've covered how the heck we got here. And part of my goal was to make sure that we just didn't turn into a nerdy, totally nerd reptile show. I wanted to be equal parts that and life. I'm not gonna, you're welcome to if you want. I'm not sure how you feel about, privacy and behind the curtain and all that. Joe and I know each other because his partner, she and I went to high school together in the mid 90s, and we've remained very, very good friends. Truly, I really think, I mean, I don't keep these sorts of lists, but I think she's the longest person that I've known that I keep in touch with. And when I vend at Lakeland or Tampa shows, or a lot of times when I play gigs in Southwest Florida, I'll stay with Joe and at their house. So there's a pretty good trust factor that came in here and a good history. I tell some of that. What does and I could share my version here at the Home Life as well. What was the feedback when it was like, okay, we're doing it, Adam and I'm in. What was the
my partner's name is Chelsea.
Okay,
and
all right,
so,
as long as that's cool. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know where we were there.
So Chelsea, Chelsea is one of your oldest friends. You're one of hers, and let me just back up for a second, because when Adam comes to our house to stay, we love it when he has like a show in Lakeland or somewhere around Tampa or something. We love it because he always comes with, and if you don't know, he's a sommelier. He knows his wine, so he brings a great bottle of wine every time, possibly multiple bottles of wine. Possibly, and then he cooks for us usually, which is fantastic. He's a terrific chef. And so we have a great meal. So we love having him come. And then there's usually some kind of conversation. Now, when I said, Chelsea was really positive. I was really happy about that because this is, it's kind of an unusual thing. I don't want to offend anybody. It's a step into a community that is, that might have some, I don't know, not stigma, but kind of, it's an unusual thing to become involved with.
There seems to be lots of questions. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So not just from you, in the world about our community.
Yeah. So, but I think her reaction overall was, I'm just happy you guys are friends and have this great friendship that grew cool. into this other thing. And so she's just, because she loves you so much and she loves me so much, and she's just happy to see us, get together and talk and vibe on this stuff.
Cool.
And what about what about your partner?
So Kelly, so a few thoughts real fast. So the math is easy to me. Am I going to spend, like in Tampa, a hotel is going to cost me, I mean, I guess you could get a hotel for under $100 in Tampa, but I wouldn't want to stay there. So where I would want to stay is going to be
somewhere on Nebraska. You could probably
I don't want knocks on my door at 2:30 in the morning. Inside. Yeah. So, you got to spend a little bit more to stay in Tampa. And the math becomes really easy. So let's just call it $150 by the time you pay the room and the fees. And true. Also, it would be 2 nights when I go to Tampa. So it becomes real easy to be like, hey, a handful of ribeye steaks and a few bottles of wine are way cheaper at the grocery store than the hotel is. And let's go do that. And I'll get a better night of sleep, hang out with friends. So that's kind of the math. And that's the same thing in Orlando with my buddy Andy. We have a good time. So if you guys see me on show days on Sundays and I look like I'm dragging a little bit, you might know why.
You have a buddy in Orlando that you stay? I thought we were the only ones, Adam.
I can't commute from Tampa to the Orlando show. I may as well do that from the house without a hangover, you know.
Cheating with Andy.
With Andy, yeah, which is yeah. So Kelly is. People ask me if she's supportive, is she into what I do, and I tell people like, there's not an active like rah 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 cheerleader support, but let's back up a minute. For any wife to be like, sounds good, let's move to Florida, let's chase some snake dreams. Because 3 years ago I started in North Carolina. Okay, honey, I'm gonna outfit the garage, I'm gonna convert it, and I'm going to somewhere between 3 to 5x the size of my collection. By the way, I'm gonna start my own business consulting, and I think I can make some money playing music in the evenings. Adam, didn't you have a really good paying job and a 27-year career that really you kind of established yourself as one of the guys in that field? Yeah, but I don't want to do that anymore. We're gonna go chase these dreams. It's cool. Like, come on, baby, let's go. So I have to say she's incredibly supportive, and nowadays it's almost in a very positive way. It's, hey, if you're not doing something to further your brand, if you're not doing something to steward the community or your industry, maybe you should be in a restaurant running it and having a salary. So it's like, okay, let's get to work. So she was actually quite intrigued. There are a lot of what would be just this side of an eye roll. It's not quite an eye roll. It's a okay.
A sigh. Like
some, but you know what cures that is some really good revenue numbers. Like the size, it's less size. It's just more like, okay, if that's what you guys do, then go to it. So
the point is, Kelly's a saint. That's what you're getting at.
I will say that Kelly is an absolute saint, putting up for
that there's a connection that I have with Kelly that's before I knew anybody. Do you know this?
I don't know. Let me guess this. So I know I'm using really broad terms. You're from the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly's from Minnesota, but she did her undergrad work at Holy Cross in Massachusetts. And then she was a school teacher in, I want to say, the Bronx, but certainly in New York City. She commuted from Yonkers. I'm going to guess there has to be a New York connection in there, but I don't know it. Do I know about it? What am I missing here?
So I think for a time, maybe it was a year, maybe it was a few months or something, she did this thing with in upstate New York with the Capuchin Franciscans. Do you know this? The Franciscans?
Yes, she did.
Yeah. And then
is it a Jesuit order or a different order?
Oh
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my ex-girlfriends did the same thing, and there's only like 10 people that do it every year, and they knew each other. Just an interesting thing.
Who is that? Can you say that name, or maybe we have to say it off air?
Yeah, we'll say it off air.
Okay, we'll say it off air. I thought maybe
it was a bad breakup.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, we don't need to dig at that.
No, it wasn't a bad breakup. It was okay. I'm just saying.
Right. Well, I mean, ex-partners are always weird. Like, who when you find the right one, all the others go, like, who cares then at that point?
Right, exactly.
But yeah. No, but yeah, so Kelly, very interesting and a big testament to her character. She graduated from Holy Cross and then did 1 year of maybe 2 years. She volunteered with this order of religious folks. I don't know the right title. They're not monks, but then put her words and beliefs into action in the community. And when I say into a community that might have needed help, we're talking in New York City. It wasn't like she went to like Ocala. Like she went, like it's a pretty big thing. So I didn't know that there was a direct tie. That's crazy. I mean, and she keeps up. It was the same year and the same people that she worked with was the person you knew.
Yeah, I think so. I think she knew the person that I knew.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was just interesting. We were hanging out one night and she mentioned what she but she did that, and I thought, oh, I know somebody who does.
Wow. And I didn't know that. I sort of deducted you. Well, you heard me deduce sort of where it would have to be. I did not know that. Okay. So we've covered our backstory, our origin story, our point and our purpose. How about we dive into some, a little bit of news, a little bit of announcements, and we'll chat away and cover some of this, but we'll turn to some of the reptile topics, and then audience, we're gonna need your help. Like I feel like Joe needs more than just Joe, but we got some help from AI on some input on that. But if you have input, you're welcome to add to that as well.
I need a lot of input, actually. I need a lot of input.
That's sort of your role here, is to get input, right?
I'm looking at how you look. I need better lighting. I need a better back. I mean, look at this. I'm in a half-baked office in my house. This is terrible. I got to get a better background. There's this little snake that's down here with the coffee. It's a great little image.
Right. He needs a name.
He needs a name. We got to name this person. So
this is where you guys can have input and really shape this show. And unlike my Tuesday night show, we have a hard deadline. We have 31 minutes to go. So only 31 minutes of torture left for Joe in the audience. And and then we get on with our day. Sorry, I could do a whole show about it, but that whole thing of like the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing, you start to learn little things like, okay, I didn't like that little part there. How do I get my logo permanently here? This is my work office. So those racks, those are snake racks behind me that look like little drawers and bookshelf. I have curtains that come over those for when I'm doing my restaurant consulting. So it just looks like I have a stage curtain behind me. You figure out how to iterate and sort of design all of these things, and you try new things. And lighting was one of them. That there's sort of this purple hue behind me. That's actually a stage light that I had bought for one of my amps to look cool on stage. And I was like, I need some ambiance around here. And anyway, that's that whole 10,000 hours analogy. And imagine doing that in a new business or a new industry, and just the little things that you pick up on and start doing over and over. So yeah. And
I think consistency leads to that.
That's right.
There's something about my brain too, where I think I have a terrible memory sometimes. So sometimes I think I'll probably ask questions that maybe have already been answered, but I want a deeper knowledge of it, or I have forgotten the answer. So I'm one of those guys that has to when we put up our Christmas tree, I have to relearn. I don't quite remember how things are put together. I have to relearn and reteach myself to do those things. And I think some people just have minds like that, and some people, just remember everything. So forgive me if I ask questions that maybe have already been answered.
No, well, it's some of it is, like you say, the muscle memory. I mean, there's a reason, the guitarist Steve Vai still practices 5 to 6 hours a day, or Yo-Yo Ma. He says he still practices 8 hours a day on cello. Guy doesn't have to do anything in his life if he doesn't want to, but you do it from muscle memory and for some of the things you're talking about. On the flip side, the whole podcast concept, that actually will fit well, because today there's 18 viewers right now, which is amazing, guys. 8 in the morning. What are you doing? Holy cow, what are we doing? But we're we signed up to be the jackasses here. Not that you all are, but thank you for joining. Because I don't do anything at 8 a.m. without being drugged into the situation. But on a podcast, who knows who saw the last episode or the last time a topic was covered. And as much as I would want it to be like an encyclopedia, it'd be no, we talked about that on episode 2. We're not going to talk. That never happens. The conversation's got to go where it goes. The audience is good for that too. What I wonder, and actually I'm seeing some people that I haven't met before, which is really cool because different timing, maybe you reach a new audience. I also wonder if we could capitalize on the Western European audience, because I get viewers in the evening sometimes from England, but it's 1:30, 2 in the morning there when they're watching. And like, yeah, I'm a restaurant and a music guy. 1:30, 2 in the morning doesn't bother me, but there's clearly morning people because there's 18 of them here. But in Western Europe, it's noon, 1 in the afternoon. I mean, maybe it's time for a little vino and a siesta after lunch. You know, that's kind of cool. So, yeah, I saw Lorgas Total here. Are you in? Is that Portugal, or are you in Spain? I'm just going on linguistics, but usually when I see the TAO at the end, I think of Portugal. But how cool is that? Like, we're getting this cool reach, and so I'm excited about that. Jennifer, good morning. Jennifer is one of the Patreon members, and I just got to say hello, except I'm terrible about shout outs, but hey, if you're going to be a member of Patreon, we're going to make this good. I also got to say hello really, really quick to Holly at Texoma Exotics. Let me switch back to your initial hello. That's Stan. That's not Holly. Okay, well, we're going to go with this one. The emojis didn't transfer over, but hand purple blue piece. There it is. Holly, she has her own channel podcast. She's a reptile breeder, but she also does the production for other podcasts. And one of them is Celtic Balls. And I believe it's called PUI, Podcasting Under the Influence. And I will be their guest on Monday night. Holly, what time is that at? I should know this. That's 6:30 Eastern, so must be 7:30 Central where you guys are. I got it on my calendar, 6:30 Eastern. Is that right? 6:30 Eastern Monday night. I'll be on Celtic Balls. So I'll be hanging out. Thanks for what you do for our industry, Holly. I know you work behind the scenes, and you've been. We'll tell the story of how we hung out, and Holly is in Texas-Oklahoma border, but I met her in Pennsylvania. And we all actually crashed at the same house for 1 or 2 nights. 2 nights for me. I think they had it on in New York City, but my memory is a little fuzzy the second night. So, all right, really quick. Myself, Proper Royals, I will be vending at the Orlando Repticon next weekend. Like I say, I'll be on Monday night, Celtic Balls podcast. I believe that's 6:30 Eastern time, but Holly's going to straighten me out here. 8:30 for me, not 6:30. I'm glad you clarified that. 8:30 for me. Okay, 8:30 for me. I will update that. Jennifer says the little coffee snake should be named Java. We're going to cover that here real quick. I promise you. We have thoughts, and the AI bots have thoughts about that as well.
I do have to say that just peripherally being introduced to the community, the names of some of the people, the handles, Celtic Balls. That's fantastic.
You ain't seen nothing yet, man. The double entendre out there in the community of snake, balls, python is the well runs deep, my friend. You will see. You'll see a lot.
So we gotta come up with a good name for this little guy.
That's right. So we're working on his name there. Like I say, we're gonna ask AI here in a minute what they think. Tuesday nights, Proper Royals live. If you are on the reptile person side of the aisle versus the non-reptile, you're welcome. Either one. Everybody welcome. Definitely a safe space. All that good stuff. But we do kind of deep nerdy dives. I got Will Morose on this week, and I know, Joe, you're like, oh, old Miss
Willie.
Morose. Yeah, Miss Morose's baby boy. He's going to be on. Yeah. Yeah, Will Morose is a massive player in the game, incredible breeder, but we're going to talk about his Patreon. We will talk about cool morphs and his breeding projects and that stuff, but he's kind of the Patreon king in our industry, and I want to know about it, not necessarily from a business sense, but a community sense. Those guys are crazy. He runs a business called Royal Canadian Reptiles, RCR, and like his group, his gang is called the RCR Mafia. They have they're nuts, man. And that's all from the Patreon. So I want to check that out. We're going to talk to Will Morose. What a massive get. And then the following week will be Steve Casino from Steve's Morphs, and also a massive influence and a very good friend out of Brooksville, your neighbor there, just north of you all in Tampa. Yeah. There, he's a massive player. So that's what's going on in Proper Royals. Down below the LinkTree link, you can find links to all of my media, all the places that I am, and all those details. So go on there. Enough of my yapping. If it strikes you, it is hatchling season. If you want to set yourself apart and check out some sponsorship opportunities, if you notice, there's no logos here. We're like a new NASCAR that hasn't gotten all the stuff thrown on it, you know. So feel free. We can discuss. And I do love brand alignments. I think my brand is strong. I think I can represent you well. And I will say that I do like to vet who I sponsor. So I want to align with like-minded, like vision, similar purpose people. Big news for me, relatively big news this week. So, Joe, this lobby we had talked about, it's called USARK, United States Association of Reptile Keepers. And the really fast version is that they're a reptile lobby. There's a lot of legislation and laws and licensing, and there's 50 states. So we got the federalism versus the Republican idea, the Republic idea, not Republican. I'm not talking about party politics, but the states' rights versus the federal laws here. And so there's 50 different sets of laws plus the federal laws. And sometimes they come at loggerheads. And then sometimes some of us have a governor that wants to take a grandstand and make a national scene for future endeavors on the backs of our local constituents. Let's put it that way. And here in Florida, we have an enforcement group, a law enforcement group called Florida Wildlife Commission, which is, again, we could do a whole show on that. USARK. There's a national USARK, and then Florida is the only state that I know of that I believe the USARK has a local chapter for. And yeah, because Florida's kind of seen as like the forefront and the bellwether. We're the canary in the coal mine because we're such a great habitat for reptiles, which leads to trouble sometimes. We can leave it that way. I can't deny that.
Yeah. So if Florida is the place to be for reptiles, is there a place that you shouldn't be? Like, is there a state where people want to breed and there's kind of they're oppressed, they cannot practice?
Believe it or not, I'm so glad you asked that. It's quite the opposite. Florida is perceived as the oppressed place. Florida is the place where so the chairman of the FWC, do you remember, I don't know how many people are into history. I have a history degree, and what people don't know is that Joe's quite the academic. We can get into that another day. Do you remember the historical, the Bay of Pigs, Khrushchev and Kennedy, and Khrushchev is banging his shoe on a table saying, "We will crush you." Yeah. There was a scene at a FWC meeting, not with a shoe, but basically the guy pounding his fist saying, "We're coming for your reptiles. We're going to take your animals from you." And let me dive into this because it is important. And hell, if there's something that non-reptile people should understand about our community, FWC, Florida Wildlife Commission, is appointed players. They're not elected.
Okay.
They dictate laws. They don't have to legislate laws. There's no legislative process to what they do. So at least when we all cringe, because if we all have something in common, we all think that the politicians don't have it right, no matter what side of what aisle we land on, right? This day and age, we can rely on that to be a fact. But at least those politicians have to answer to constituents at the ballot box. These people do not. Mm-hmm. Lastly, or not lastly, I have to have a license from FWC, and my license, when I apply for that license, I waive illegal search and seizure protections that the Constitution provides me. They're allowed to. I give them permission to come here anytime, with or without cause, with or without a warrant, for any reason whatsoever. You throw
Has that ever happened? Has it ever happened?
No, at shows at shows they do. They inspect, and they can go through your animals and all that stuff. I've not been inspected here, but I do know that they check me out, and I do know that with such a broad presence on social media that I'm absolutely have been looked at. They've sought me out at shows because of it. So we go down this rabbit hole because that you start to see that if you were to have a person with strongman goals that liked maybe an authoritarian mindset, this is a perfect proving ground for or a perfect breeding ground for some nefarious actions. With you know, the unchecked power comes corruption, and
What are
that's what
the yeah? So just curious. I imagine that's why USARK is such an important organization for the
right.
community then.
Right. Yeah.
And then
USARK is a great group of lawyers. They're not cheap because we got the best, and they go head to head, keeping FWC in check with the laws of our Constitution and what's allowed and what's not. And I'll wrap up this part because we could make a whole show on FWC. But the tipping point was something that in our community we call the Holy Thursday Massacre. It's the Thursday before Easter. And FWC, the short version, I won't give the opinions part. FWC came to remove and euthanize some 30 snakes that were outlawed 2 years ago. The guy was supposed to have been grandfathered in, given the chance to remove them from the state. They finally said, hey, they're chipped. You're keeping them. They're accounted for. No problem. Then on a dime, they said, nope, they're outlawed. And your 1 year has passed to get rid of them. We're coming to euthanize them. The guy actually abided by it, much to his frustration. He filmed the whole thing where they euthanize it, and they didn't stop. They went and they got his pet boa that was pregnant with over about $100,000 worth of babies, and they killed that snake. They killed his pet. Can you imagine if, let's not get too personal, but can you imagine if everyday person in Florida had somebody show up and mistakenly kill their dog?
oh yeah, no,
Right.
no.
So that's it. That's the extreme example. That was a tipping point where finally the public said, this is out of hand. Like, a lot of news channels picked that up. A lot of news channels said, wait a minute, this is crazy. And that's where they ducked their head and went back into their burrow. And we're seeing restructuring. We're seeing that there actually was an acknowledgement this is a problem. And USARK like hit home on that.
Well, is it possible for FWC to change their view of the reptile community?
Yes, I'm not optimistic about that.
Yeah.
History shows that they won't. But FWC has gone silent since, not silent, but they've gone very, very quiet since then. A new chairman was appointed with a directive to work with stakeholders and business owners. I think they started calculating the revenue, taxes, the people that are above water, the people that are licensed, and all of that. And we're seeing a turnaround, but all we've heard is silence. So silence is better than dead animals that shouldn't be dead and pets, but it's not, we don't know. We haven't heard, and then actions speak louder than words.
Gotcha.
So on all of that, this Saturday and Sunday, now it might be Friday and Saturday, but I believe it's Saturday and Sunday. Go to the USARK Florida Instagram page, guys. USARK Florida is auctioning off a guitar that Jeremy Baud from St. Petersburg donated to the USARK auction in Daytona last year. Eugene Bissett, he's a board member of USARK Florida and an influential breeder for 50 years in Florida now. Definitely one of the OGs and one of the fightingest men I've ever met in my life. For a good cause. He bought that guitar at the auction. He has redonated it to USARK Florida. So the USARK auction benefits USARK. It benefits USARK Florida. They also have to pay the Daytona overhead room rental fees. I believe is only my opinion, not a fact. I believe Wayne gets his cut from the Daytona show. There's also a handful of other charities that it benefits. So that money got chopped up and divvied up. This money will all go to USARK. It's on their auction page. It's a digital auction. And how cool is this? How cool. I'm excited about this. This guitar is one that I built. I built it back in 2014. It was my touring guitar for about 5 years. Jeremy Baud calls up all the OGs of the industry. I'm getting chills talking about it. Brian Barczyk is on there. Kevin from Nerd is on there. I think Eugene signed it as well. Vinny up in, I believe he's in New York, but maybe New Jersey. There's like 40 signatures on this guitar, like a true working piece of history of our industry. I just lucked into being a part of this. I had very little to do with all of this. So Daniel Parker, the communications director for USARK Florida, the guy you always see in the USARK videos, he has a guitar, and it turns out he's a ripping guitarist. He used that guitar to film the new, or to record the new USARK News Channel's intro. Keep an eye on my Instagram. You'll see videos of him playing it, but it's going to be auctioned off again, and all of the proceeds go to USARK Florida. He's right here in Florida, right here at the forefront, all the things we're talking about. So to circle way, way back, Joe, Florida is perceived as where you don't want to be, but the business and the community is very, very, very strong here. So it's thrived for me. Georgia has some regulations, but next to none. South Carolina has some related to, I believe, tegus, and that's a type of lizard. I think it's a great big skink, but they could be pretty not vicious. They're not like monitors, but they can be destructive to an ecosystem, and but otherwise, by and large, most states actually are pretty wide open. Believe it or not, where you're from up there in Pennsylvania area, the reptile shows there, you can buy a cobra up there. Nothing in Florida venomous. You can't sell anything venomous here. Up north, wide open, man, because if something gets out and gets loose there, the longest it's going to last is 6 months before it freezes. Now, a cobra out and about for 6 months is not what we want. Go ahead.
Is that the reason why Florida would clamp down? Is that reptiles can survive more easily in Florida? And that's the reason the FWC is like, we gotta have regulations in place.
That's the banner that they fly under. Yes. And there is fact there.
Okay.
When I say it that way, it's also a very, very popular political hot point. I mean, you got roots all the way to the Garden of Eden story. So you got all kinds of, you got all kinds of fears to play off of, and if nothing makes a better voter than a scared person, we got to do something about this. So there's this stigma that comes with it in the first place that is already kind of baked in that an ambitious politician might see as an opportunity to capitalize on as a ballot box hot topic. So I see it leveraged that way. That's of course my opinion, but that's I would say that's a pretty widely held belief on there. So guys, go support the USARK auction for that guitar. I'm selfishly excited about it. Joe, we got like 10 minutes. Are we gonna, if we go over, are we gonna be in trouble, or we need to hold tight and save some content for next episode? What's your day like?
I'm fine. I'm fine to save some content for next time. If we stick to 8:30, if we go a little bit over, that's fine. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's get to your, because like I say, I want this to be a co-host, not just Adam yapping away and stroking my own ego. When we were brainstorming, throwing the spaghetti at the wall, I was like, man, it's really important that you bring like I need to know segment, which we could name too. Like I was thinking like Joe needs to know, but I don't know. But Joe's inquiry, it could be like the Inquisition. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably too nerdy. Maybe not. Nerdy is supposed to be good. Like niche nerdy stuff is supposed to be really good on social media. What is the burning question that the non-reptile guy needs to know? Let's dig. I don't know what this is. We've not done any show prep on this other than I know that this is a topic we need to cover.
So I'm sticking with the theme of today, which is basically, this is our first inaugural episode. We're talking about why we're doing this. And that would be my question. And a lot of other people's question is why, why reptiles? What is it about? And specifically for you, pythons, ball pythons, what is it? What was the draw? What is the draw? What is the why would you go, okay, I want to change from what I was doing to really, really going full into this? What's the appeal? What's the draw?
All right, I'll try and give you the macro and the micro answers. I could talk years about this, so this will be kind of hard to keep in a box. But first, I love the animals; they're beautiful. Like I remember I had ball pythons in college, and they were just these brown and black snakes that were cool, and they were great pets, and they were fun. And then I finished college, and I sold them, and on I went. But I remember 3+ years ago, matter of fact, like right before the pandemic hit, a Repticon in Asheville, and I walked in and I was blown away. The various colors, we call them morphs, the things that you can breed for, the genetic opportunities. They have ball pythons in particular have one of the widest genetic visual representations of any animal in the world, in existence. I mean, imagine if you could breed horses to be bright red, albino, different colored eyes, stripes, puzzle patterns, polka dots, and then you can layer all of these things, or a piebald, a horse to look like a Dalmatian, and then you could really, it's a slow process, but on the other hand, a generation is only a year, and over generations you could hone. It might start as blotchy, but you could with genetic goals and pairings and different morphs, you could breed for color, for pattern, and for contrast. And that's a really, really, really cool thing. So that was incredibly intriguing. Ball pythons make great pets. That's really the only species I deal in. But like Brandon, he's out here, Brandon Nixon, like he deals in the big snakes. He's got some, I think he has some Burmese still, but Burmese pythons, but he definitely has reticulated pythons, which are out. Burms and reticulated pythons are outlawed in Florida. They cannot be owned as pets here. But I love it. I was intrigued by that. I've always been intrigued by the idea of agriculture, and I know people go, that's not agriculture. I'll fight anybody on that. It is agriculture, but the idea of propagating something from nothing or something from very little, there's something beautiful about that to me. I know that's a philosophical thing, but I really love that idea. Then I discovered that there's a massive marketplace. There's a massive, community just under the water. I got to say, hey, to Keith, he's on the West Coast. It's 5:25 in the morning, and Keith is tuning in to hang out. Creative genetics. It's unreal. Yeah, I mean, and guys, check out Keith is one of the sponsors on the Tuesday night show. Go check out Creative Genetics on Instagram. He's got some great stuff for sale. Stranger female het VPI. I think it's still for sale. I think the only one available in the world for sale right now. So female stranger het VPI, Creative Genetics. Check them out.
I want to just respond here. HIVIS, high V's. Is that what you say? That's
I would say high vis, but maybe V's, but I would say probably high visibility. That's Jennifer.
Oh, high vis. Okay. Love that response. Yeah. And it's I'm getting this picture, like, it's almost like with ball python specifically, it's almost like creating art with living creatures, or
yes.
Yeah?
I couldn't have said it better. Yes.
Okay.
And there is so yeah, all of those sort of the beauty emotion side of it, the rational financial side. You could buy a ball python for $20. You could buy a ball python for $20,000. So it then becomes this financially inclusive opportunity, a relatively low barrier of entry to get started, especially, again, from an agricultural propagation standpoint. And the other thing I love, and Joe, I think you know this about me, man, I call it the human condition, man, but I love watching the human condition. Like, put me in a city and let me just watch for the evening. Put me in a punk rock show where everybody's welcome. It's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah.
And I make the joke, but it's a true story. I have seen, the stereotypes, and these are stereotypes of, the rootin' tootin', gun totin', dude hanging out with the two black lesbians with studded dog collars and mohawks at the same table, man. Like it's this cool thing because we get like there's this almost like snobbery, not in well, there is snobbery in snakes too, but in the world there's this snobbery where like, oh, we're like, it's almost like this, like, it can be annoying sometimes, this mission of being included or this mission of look how amazing we are. And it's almost like so effortful. And reptile shows they're like concerts. They're like punk shows. It's effortless. It attracts all these people that we would probably get caught up over what news channel we watch and what ballot we check or what box we check at the ballot box. And we forget that, man. It's just cool. And I'm just another weird dude. I'm strolling around in a chef coat selling ball pythons. Like, I'm just as weird as the rest of the gang. Like, it's all the freaks and geeks, man. And it's really, really cool. And there are, like I say, we have amazing lawyers down to 7-year-olds that are buying their very first pet that with their lawn mowing chores that, their dad gave them the permission to come negotiate with me. Like, it's a wonderful thing. So I love all of that. And that to me is why there's the community, there's the financial, there's the beauty. And it came at a time in my life, and I won't dive into this for my therapy session this morning, but it came at a time in my life where my worlds had been upended. 27 years in food and beverage. I've been playing music even longer. And my thoughts have always been, I might not get rich, but I can always feed. I can always entertain somebody. And if push comes to shove, I can always go down to the street corner with a guitar and go make enough money to feed my family and buy some beans or whatever. Yeah. And the pandemic took all of that away. So I was in a pretty dark spot of what in the world is going on. So it started as kind of a therapy and a release. And then it just snowballed from there. Look at the East Coast waking up at 8:30. We got 25 people here now hanging out. So Shannon's
Love
a good friend here.
Yeah. And this is what I hope would happen too with my inquiry, that I wouldn't just get your perspective, Adam. We would get the perspectives of the people who were tuning in when we were doing this.
That's the true community part. Go ahead and read that, because we actually get a lot of audio only. A lot of people are probably getting ready for work or commuting to work and listen up.
Shannon says, for me, it was a way to deal with my PTSD and to connect with my childlike self, who spent the day in nature catching and keeping all of God's creatures. I mean, I did this thing. I do this thing every week for my job, where I meet with people and I give a little pitch about what my company does, and it's a networking thing.
Right.
So I actually mentioned you, Adam, yesterday, and I said I have a friend, and my pitch was I want to meet people who started a hobby during the pandemic that they now are turning into a business, and my company wants to work with them, right?
Oh, cool.
So I give this pitch, but when I say I have a friend, a close friend, yeah.
Sorry. Light, no, I'm not worried about going over. You tell me, you got to get to work. We're fine. We can. Yeah. I'm good on that. No. In that light, should you tell people what it is you do? Because what you just described is our whole audience, and I think you could provide a service to that audience.
Well, yeah, I work for an accounting firm. I'm a partner in an accounting firm. And so we work with small businesses on their business taxes, their bookkeeping, their payroll, all of that stuff. So yeah, if you have a business and you need an accountant and you want to work with us, then you can reach out to, I don't know, is there a contact that we give out? They can contact you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put them in touch with you, but this is the power of social media, because it'd be great if you had a kind of a LinkTree set up that we just put a one-click all down.
We can work on that. It's Gulf Coast Accounting and Tax. Yeah. So we're out of Palm Harbor and Wesley Chapel in Florida. So, but we work with anybody. We work with people all over the United States. So, but my point being was, so I said this yesterday. I have a friend who got into ball pythons, breeding ball pythons.
What
And
what was the look around the boardroom when you said that sentence?
it was like, oh, I didn't know you had friends like that, Joe. You know,
Right.
it's like that kind of thing. But when you ask these questions and you go, why do you do this? We had your answer was fantastic, and it was so personal and genuine. And then we have Shannon who's responding. We have Jennifer who's responding with these beautiful reasons for doing something that is seen when I say breed ball pythons in a room full of entrepreneurs who are not in the community. They go, oh, but the reasons behind why you're getting, we're talking about creating art. We're talking about building a community. We're talking about therapeutic measures for taking care of yourself, connecting with your child like what you were when you were a child, connecting with nature, all of that stuff. I mean, those are fantastic, beautiful reasons for being involved with this. So I think it's just great. I love this. I'm so excited that I'm a part of it.
That's awesome, man. And that's why I wanted to bring somebody like you. Like, anyway, that's the whole point of the show. Your feedback just right there is that fits perfectly. Should we you got time for one more topic? I think the AI topic, artificial intelligence, and maybe how we can incorporate that. First, it's funny. Second, maybe we can go a little deep on it. And if not, we hit it out of the, I think this
so
is
we can I think what we can do
show.
I think what we can do is we can introduce the idea, let it simmer. If these folks who are with us want to join us next week, and maybe have some more ideas about what to name our logo here. If I need to have a different name, or if they have input, they can talk about it or think about it over the next week.
I love it. Let's rewind for 1 second. Jennifer, thanks so much for sharing. That's a really kind of a personal and could be vulnerable. I don't know the feelings on it, but my son is on the spectrum, and snakes are so calming and slow moving, which I know the perception of other people is like, oh, that'd be terrifying. It's not. He really connects with them and loves the genetic puzzles too. There's a mutual friend to most of us in the audience. Her name is Nicole Tisdale. She goes by Lady Tiz. She has a similar story, and I never want to comment on people's children and the conditions and that sort of thing, but I've heard that theme many, many times, and that is something that I can I don't even know if I can understand, that I can sympathize with, and I hear it a lot, but I probably don't fully understand it, and I couldn't bring that to the table myself because it's not the situation I'm in or the life that I lead. But that's really amazing to hear, and that's just in a related way, that soothing part of it is something that Shannon talked about as well. So I found it as a great release, probably not to the level that Shannon and Jennifer are talking about, but stress isn't exactly the right word when you work at something for nearly 3 decades and you think it's going to be taken away. And this is true. I was reduced to selling cases of toilet paper in a grocery store model when I couldn't get anything else, but the community still was, remember the toilet paper like rush. I could get it by the case in hotel quantities through our distributor. And that's what we did to keep a few of us employed. And I was like, what in the hell is going, like, and suddenly snakes started to make a whole lot more sense to me when you put yourself in that context. And now enough time has gone by that it's it's comical, but at the time it was just so dark. Anyway, all right. So we'll tease this. We'll dive in next week on it then. So I am not unlike Holly at Texoma, I am not a graphic designer. I'm not a marketing guy. I am a guy that likes to fiddle and not violin fiddle, like tinker. That's the right word I was looking for. I'm a tinkerer. And so if there's a way to get something done, I want to figure it out. And, it used to be graphic design. The hack was to, go find some clip art, find something hopefully not copyright protected, or if it was, like, tweak it or fly under the radar or whatever. Then Canva came along, which was really helpful. And I use Canva incredibly. It's a great software. I'm not affiliated with them, but I'm just a user. They're really, really good. And I had this vision of like 2 cups of coffee with human looks. What do you call that when you anthropomorphism, when you like put a human feeling on an inanimate object or a snake? Yeah. So I wanted to anthropomorphize these coffee mugs. And then I was like, man, I want a kind of a whimsical logo. If Proper Royals is all like deep dive, nerdy, right to the point, like I got to remind myself to have some fun and be whimsical. And so I was like, maybe I hear that people are drawing stuff on AI, and that's what I did. That all of those images that you see are from me directing AI. So I do own those. They're mine, I guess, if the creative copyright laws work that way, but no, they don't exist. And I can't recreate them. Like, the problem with drawing on AI is if you recycle it, you better if you think it's even maybe good, you better download it. What I discovered, though, and this is the part where we'll leave it hanging, what I discovered is I couldn't dictate to the art AI what I wanted it to make with any success. It was making bonkers nonsense. So then I went to, oh man, Holly, I just read your comment there. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, wow.
I was going to bring it up too.
Yeah, that sort of hit me there. I'm sorry. Like you get dialed in on one thing and then the comments over here. So then I had to, I like to tinker, and I was like, man, this AI art stuff sucks. I can't get anything from it. And a buddy of mine, who's another entrepreneur, I had talked to him about this, and he sent me a Instagram reel where a guy typed into ChatGPT, hey, teach me how to talk to the art AI to make it describe what I want. And the ChatGPT did all the work for me. It was like, here you go, cut and paste this in. So that's how that happened. But the other funny thing is that ChatGPT went off and running. It wrote like 3 pages of the personas of these characters, the backstory of these characters, why they're having, like, it thought those 2 cup characters were the podcast. So it has like a full, like, episodic thing written. I'll read you that next week. We'll figure out how we can use AI in our world. I think predictive AI, Google it if you want and do some homework. Audience, I think predictive AI is the way of the future, and it's going to be one of these things. We can love it or hate it, but it's here. Synthesizers in the 60s changed music, and people are like, it's not real. Well, it's not real, but it's here, and it is real. So I think that's the how AI is going to go. So we'll dig into that next week. Plus any topics. We need a name for Joe. Like should this be a morning show where we all have like weird like morning zoo names or something nonsense like that?
I think my name fits in with the title of the program. So
that was actually one of your concerns. You're like, what if this sucks and I quit? And I was like, well, then somebody else is going to have to be Joe. It's going to limit my audience, So like, I don't maybe
find another Joe.
Yeah, maybe you're Florida Cup of Joe. Maybe you're Steaming Cup of Joe. Who knows? I don't know. Like we need a Cup of Joe ideas here. We need the name for the little guy, and Joe, you got to think of what you want to know for next week too, man.
I will. There's plenty. It's not. I'm brimming with questions.
All right. I have a really hard challenge with rambling on and feeling this incessant need to have the last word, and I'm going to let that go. Joe, you take us home. I'm done. I want to say thanks to everybody. Same time, same place next week, Tuesday night. Come on. 8 p.m. with Will Morose. And I didn't tell you, I'm working on getting Daniel Parker on this podcast next Thursday to talk about the guitar auction from USARK. He messaged me at 1 a.m. in the morning last night. I was asleep, close to asleep. Anyway, so I can't guarantee it, but we're working on that. Take us home, Joe.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us, for listening, and thanks for welcoming me to the community. We'll see you next week.